What? You don't think we should make a video right now? You want to play instead? She thinks we should play. What do you think? Make a video about non-duality, play with the Basenji. Okay, she's gonna chill for a minute, I guess. So yeah, this video is about the difference between people who have an awakening and then end up in kind of a really weird place for a while, maybe for a long while, and then people who have an awakening and seem to progress on to, the big one. So what's the difference? Why? Is it just luck? Is there no one that can do anything or practice or not practice, so it's just a matter of random chance? In my opinion, in my experience, and interacting with many, many people who are going through this process and have gone through this process, there's definitely a difference. And that difference is one thing, one general area that gets overlooked. Someone sent me a message this morning, and it was a picture of one of those rock tumblers you can buy, like kind of for kids, or I don't know, maybe it's for adults, but you put rocks in it, you tumble them, and then they come out like shiny stones, right? Like they look like precious gems almost. And what they said was, I'm so glad I didn't get stuck forever in this consciousness, because I was willing to endure the shadow work or go through the shadow work, all the sharp edges, all the tumbling, and how valuable that was. I thought that was a great point, or a great analogy or comparison, but that to me really is where the rubber meets the road. An awakening, while it's profoundly transformative, it's a huge hole being ripped in what feels like reality. It's still kind of a freebie in one sense, that it really is grace. It's not something you earn so much as something that if you're willing to let go at a deep enough level, it will just hit you over the head. So in one sense, there is a price to pay for that, and often a good amount of practice leading up to it. But it's ultimately a major plunge. It's a deep letting go. But what it doesn't require is a lot of shadow work. You may be required to do some shadow work, but again, often it's more about a willingness to let go, to plunge through the identity barrier, than it is to grind out the shadow work. Now, after awakening, it's a different story. After awakening, you really have not only the opportunity, but in a sense, the responsibility to do the hard work, to do the emotion work. You ready to get down? Okay, down we go. Whoop. Yeah, so after awakening, it's, you're called to do this shadow work. And the way you know that is what felt like the Garden of Eden is suddenly feels like a lot of turmoil, a lot of angst, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of vulnerability. So first step is to acknowledge that and realize, like, this is what's here. This is what I need to work with. This is what I need to deal with. I need to engage. I need to start to integrate. Now, if at that point you decide, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm enlightened. I don't feel anything. I don't have any work to do. That's not me. There's no me here, et cetera, et cetera. Then you can really lead yourself down a road that's pretty fraught with inauthenticity, delusion, et cetera. So I don't recommend doing that. And you've heard me say this many times. On the other hand, if you're willing to just engage that shadow material, those difficult emotions, feel what there is to feel, continue to inquire, what is it I'm avoiding? What do I believe about this? Including beliefs about whether or not you should be feeling something. In fact, there are a lot of beliefs about whether or not I should be feeling this in this situation or that situation. And these beliefs can be quite hidden. You might have to dig a little bit. But once you recognize, oh, I actually believe I shouldn't have to feel this, then you'll start to realize what you're doing. You're still using your mind. You're using consciousness as an escape. You're using it to imagine a future where things are going to be better. Imagine a future where you're enlightened, or where what you're remembering about the awakening, not what awakening actually is, but what you're remembering about it, when that's going to become permanent. So more of the same problem that got you into suffering in the first place is still there after awakening, and you'll continue to engage it to various degrees, and everybody will. But the key really comes back to something very simple, and that's presence. What's really here? What's actually happening here? And the more you look, the more you inquire, the more you realize what's actually happening here. It's not a whole heck of a lot. Meaning, it's contentless. And at some point, you realize that the sense fields are really your conduit to presence at all times. And from there, all insights will arise. But it takes time, and it takes shadow work. It takes a willingness to feel a lot of uncomfortable material. So this is the difference that I mentioned earlier between people who I think have an awakening and really get themselves a bit deluded, or even start confusing other people, and people who move through, continue to do the work, and deeper insights clarify. Take some time, may take a few years, whatever. But there is a difference, and the difference is the willingness to feel uncomfortable. The willingness to let go of what you remember about awakening, what you think you know about awakening, your spiritual insights, because those are memories, and to be with what actually is and what actually is not. Maybe more importantly, what is not. Being willing to let go of those dreams, the illusions of the future and past, the narratives and stories. And what you'll feel when you let go of that is grief. You'll feel it often in your chest, a heaviness. And if your mind tells you, oh, that's not right, that shouldn't be there because I'm enlightened, or I'm awake, or I had an awakening, how could I get back to that? Let me go meditate. You're sort of misunderstanding what's happening. Meditation's fine, but if that's there, it needs to be felt, not avoided, not meditated away. Feel it. It's a sensation. Notice the narratives. Is the narrative and the sensation the same thing? Which one's primary? Which one's undeniable? And which one's constructed of thought and belief? So the willingness to be porous, the willingness to live in a raw way, let life really, truly open you up. Be exposed. Expose yourself to immediate experience, sensations, emotions, all of it. That's the key. That's the key after awakening. Let go of the past, including awakening. And let presence show you what it is. Show you what you are and what you're not. Let it shine light on every belief that arises, every delusion and distortion that arises. And see, they're all ghosts. Beliefs are thoughts, and thoughts are ghosts. And yet, presence never goes anywhere. Here it is. Raw, vivid, non-dualistic, unsupported. Sounds, forms, movement, color, shapes, shades, tones, textures, breath sensation. Empty of any abiding nature, empty of any substance. And yet, experientially full in a non-dualistic way, meaning there's no experiencer. It's complete immersion, complete submersion, obliteration. That's the presence that will carry realization deeper. You don't do anything but surrender. Paul Hederman has a saying, well, I don't know if he says it publicly, but he said it to me once, and it was, in my view, you have two jobs. It's like when you're having surgery. Don't move, and don't try to be the surgeon. It's pretty good advice.